I'm gonna be working on these ribbons here. And one of the things that I wanna keep in mind is as the ribbons get closer to me, these that are on the very top, I want them to be the lightest. So what I've done is I picked a few of the blues that are close together. Right here I have a 24, a 23, and a 26. 26 is the lightest, and then the 23 is the darkest, as you can see here. Also though, remember, if we want something to be even darker, you could always tack in a red, and that's going to immediately make it darker. So if we were to blend a red on top of these really dark spots, that's really going to make it look like it's in shadow. So I already have my darkest blue here. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see better. But now I'm blending on top of this the red, and that's really going to make that feel a lot darker. So everywhere I have a shadow, I'm going to go back in with this red. You can see here this ribbon is at the very top, and so I'm creating a highlight here. So I'm just flicking it, coming on this side and leaving this part completely white, and then flicking it on this side. But this whole ribbon is going to be in my lightest blue because it's on the very top. Now here on the shadow, where it cuts underneath, then I'm going to need to make that darker. So I'll just go ahead and skip to that. I want this blue to come all the way to this point here. The light is hitting it at this angle, but underneath it's casting a shadow. So I'm going to take my two darker blues, and I'm going to first just kind of come in and let this go in this way. And I'm very conscious of the direction of my strokes. I'm keeping the direction of my strokes in the same direction of the ribbon. So if my ribbon's flowing this way, my strokes need to be flowing that way too. I'm not pressing down hard. I want to build my color. So I'm going to come in with my darker color here, and right here where it meets, I want this to be my darkest point. And remember, how to make it even darker is to add that red or whatever the opposite color that you're going to be adding to your ribbon. So if you're using a green, you might come in with some blue to make that a darker shadow. Whatever color your ribbon is will change what color you're using for the shadow. However, you can tell how this instantly makes it stand out and makes it feel darker within that shadow. Then I'm just going to let this shadow kind of blend out. Once again, just building, keeping it at an angle here, nice and soft, but also being careful to stay inside those lines. With colored pencil, it doesn't erase well. It can erase, but not very well. So we want to make sure to get it right the first time. And then I'm going to go ahead and blend in my lightest blue on top of this, letting it fade off. So I see an intersection here where this in the back is touching this. So I want to have a strong contrast where these two meet. So I'm going to go ahead and make my highlight right here in the middle where these two meet, so that we have a little bit of a white highlight here, and that's going to create a strong contrast, making this one that's in front look lighter than the one that is in the back. Now this one here is also touching, so we're gonna have to be very careful to make it even darker than this one here. So I'm gonna make sure to go nice and light with this top one. Now typically I'd go ahead and finish out this one here on top all the way around, but I wanna show you this intersection. So I automatically wanna skip to a darker shade, so I'm gonna use these two lighter ones. I'm gonna go all the way to my 23, which is even darker. I'm gonna turn it to where I can get a nice angle on it to where it's easy for me to pull in the direction of this ribbon, because we're not forgetting about our strokes. We're gonna stay in this angle, and I'm just flicking it up there, making sure that the contrast of where it meets this ribbon is a strong contrast, because I wanna make sure that the eye knows that this one is behind the other one. So I'm just building the layers there, making sure to go soft. I'm not pressing down hard. I'm keeping these strokes going in that direction. And I want to do the same thing over here on this side. That's creating a strong contrast between these two ribbons. Now I can tell that this ribbon's going even further back behind this one. So I'm going to have to really pull in my red to make the contrast here on this back one. So I'm just going to color it in nice and soft. making sure to stick. Now you can see how this one is all the way up in the front, and then we go back one level, and this one's slightly darker, and then we go even further back, and you can tell that when we added that red in there, it really makes it feel as if it's going all the way back. So if we have three places where it's crossing over, we've got to go back in tone 3 different times. And so I'm using the red to really add that contrast between this one and this one so we could tell them apart. You want to have a strong contrast between each one of these. You can see that I've done this over here as well. I've added this blue, and right here where it meets this one, it has a strong contrast right here. Now, for the very background inside this box, I'm gonna be adding some pen and black. So it'll have even more contrast once we add that. Let me go to the next section. Right here, this one is in front of this one, and then even further back is that third one. So we're gonna have to do the same thing. So I can tell I'm gonna have to go back in with my red right here to add that contrast. But I'm gonna take my darkest blue here, and I'm going to add that here on this middle one. Okay, and then I have to do the same thing on the other side, and just this little small part right before it peaks back behind that sphere. So I'm gonna be really careful not to get on that sphere. And then right here as well, when it comes out on the other side. Fading off. One of the things that you want to make sure is you're constantly sharpening your pencil. You want your pencil to be nice and sharp so that when we are getting into these finer little spots that we have the ability to.